I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. I'm also the host of a radio show called Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm here at the Metals Investor Forum. It's November 16, 2019, and I'm really pleased to be with Nick Appleyard. He's the president and CEO of a company called Tristar Gold, one I just started following recently in my newsletter, and have had Nick also as a sponsor of my radio show, and heard the story. And when I heard the story, Nick, quite frankly, I really got excited because it looks like it's more than what I first thought it was. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, yeah.
So you have a Palio Placer project in Pará State,
Pará State,
Brazil. And the economics looks really solid, and that was attractive enough. But what I really found interesting and what got me excited about it personally was the scale, the ability to scale this thing up quite a bit. Talk to us a little bit about the nature of this project and what are the factors that cause it to be so low cost, at least in the early stages?
Yeah, what it really is it is a large scale Palio Placer. It's just like Jacobina and Tarkwa, which are two very profitable producing mines. But if you think about those mines, Tarkwa in Ghana for goldfields, it's been running for about 30 years now. And it's still producing at low cost, but if you can think of when that was shallow, when that was coming out of the ground, it was even better. Mm-hmm. So we're really at that very early part of the life cycle in a style of deposit which has no sulfides, very high metallurgical recovery, very simple mining, very simple processing, which all adds up to low costs of production.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what is your resource, and your economics were done, it showed something like 680 some bucks all-in sustaining cost. That would be early in the project is what you're saying.
That's,
I understand probably the direct operating costs might get a little more expensive later on, you expect?
It's hard to predict. Yeah, I mean, that cost was through the life of the PEA, the average cost. It was actually considerably lower in the first few years, because the first few years the mine produced 180,000 ounces a year, tailing down to maybe 90 by the last year, with an average of 135. So it was very front-end loaded with favorable economics. Part of the aim of our feasibility we're doing now is to look at the parameters we could get for those first few years and see if we can extend that from 2 years to 3 or 4 years of 150 plus ounces a year, 150,000 plus ounces a year, and maintain or even improve those economics if possible, yeah.
That's good. So with that kind of extension, I mean, talk to us a little bit about the strike length of this target. And yes. Is it near surface, or does some of it dip below, quite a ways below?
It is like a bowl, so that it closes at the bottom, and the bottom of the bowl is maybe 1.5 kilometers below surface, so that's beyond the reach of what we're looking at now. So we're really looking just where the bowl comes to surface, and where the bowl or the conglomerate reef breaks surface. We have about 19 kilometers where we've identified it with gold in it, with gold geochemical signature, the reef, conglomerate, and Garimpeiro workings. The feasibility study we're doing has probably got a 6 to 7 kilometer strike range on it, so there's still another 12 kilometers to test and to look at. And that's just for the incremental growth of this same style of deposit before we start looking at other targets as well.
Right, so you did the economics on a relatively small scale. Do you see the possibility of looking to do something on a larger scale, and talk to us a little bit about that, how much you were going to produce early stage? The early days, you say, were more production, lower cost. But
yeah, so we obviously it'll depend a little bit about who's coming in, what money's available. But if a larger company came in, I think they might want to drill out along strike another few kilometers of strike. They can increase the plant size a little bit, increase that throughput, increase the production to from the 150,000 ounce range towards the 200,000 ounce range. And you can do that very, very simply. I mean, the plant will scale very simply. The dam was already scaled to that size. So that would be a very easy thing to do if a bigger company is there with a lot of cash and and the market is open to that. If you want to, we can just stay at this size, make the money, and then grow incrementally, increase the mine life. It's a business decision at the end of next year. But if metal prices stay where we are now, the economics are going to be looking really good, and I think it'd be very tempting to make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, your economics were done at what price?
At $1,250.
$1,250, so we're roughly $250 higher, thereabouts, $250 higher.
Our sensitivities only even went up to 1,400. We didn't even run them to where we are today. So.
So what's next? And do you have an ongoing drill program that investors can be aware of and keep their eyes out for?
Yeah, so part of the feasibility study, we've got about a program that's around about 200 RC holes, 120 meters deep each. So we're quarter of the way through that now. That'll run through March. That'll be generating results, obviously, that'll be coming out on a probably monthly basis. But I think the exciting thing will be we will be looking at a parallel program of exploration, looking at the other targets on the property.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the feasibility study is one part of it, one part of the story. You know, I think my role as CEO is to make sure people don't think that's the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the start. This is just a very young in this project life. So we want to make sure that over the next 3 to 6 months, we're starting to get some news out on the rest of the project to sort of show that upside and show the additional value that might be there.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you said maybe a bigger fish might come along and offer you the right price or whatever, but I believe you have the skill sets to take this along into production on your own, if I'm right about that.
Yeah, we've worked on operations before, our whole team has, and we could for sure do it ourselves, especially with the capex being, you know, under the 200 million range, which I think is a manageable amount. So yeah, we have the skill set within our team to do that. It's really a business decision. I think we're a little agnostic. If that's the best thing to do, we'll do that. If someone comes along and they offer you the money and, you know, you're getting a risk-free profit for your shareholders, you know, you take the cash and run. So there's no ego in that part of the decision for me. It's a business decision for the best benefit of the shareholders.
Optimization of shareholder wealth.
Returns, yes.
And so
and give them the choice. They can then invest in the new company who builds it if they want to, and if they want to take the cash out, puts the power back in the hand of the shareholders.
Right. So we like to see management's interests aligned with the shareholders. How much does management own, and is management large shareholders?
Yep, management directors directly probably own 15%. Between friends and family, sort of associates, it's up to, we talk about 25%. It was an interesting thing. I have a very strong belief in that myself. When I joined the company 4 years ago, we sort of requested, you can't force, but everybody did, that all senior management at that time defer salaries because cash was very hard to come by. We developed the project, we started going. We did a fairly big raise, or a significant raise of $5.3 million, I think it was. Paid back those salaries, and then we asked everyone, okay, that payback, keep enough to pay your tax. The rest of it's rolled into the raise into the company because we wanted everyone aligned with shareholders. And the really nice thing is, all the executives and senior management of the company willingly participated in that, which I really like because that helps us form a tight team who all want this thing to move forward.
Yeah, it's very important to. Because I mean, some executives might just be interested in a job and a position for the rest of their lives, and we want it's not necessarily.
No, that's really, I think, part of the business model we've brought in is I'm doing this. I'm going to be the truth. I'm doing this to make money.
Yeah.
But I want to make money on my shareholdings. You know,
Sure.
that's the salary pays for my pays for day-to-day living, but the money's coming from the shareholders.
How well funded are you, and what are your expectations for going forward into 2020 in terms of exploration? And
so right now the full feasibility is paid for. We in August closed that $8 million US sale to Royal Gold. So we have, I forget the exact numbers, but we are funded through the end of next year to complete the feasibility study and run the company.
Sure.
We've probably got enough in the kitty to sort of look sufficiently at these other exploration targets. If we want to do bigger programs, we would need a bit of additional money at some time in the future to do that.
Yeah.
But it would be fairly simple to get, and not a lot of money because everything else is already paid for.
Sure. Well, that's to me, it's going to be important. I mean, as I say, I got excited when I realized the scale of this. But then, if I have to wait too long, so. There's a balance, obviously. You need to be careful with shareholder.
No, and back to your earlier comment about, is there a big fish going to come around? Part of my thoughts are, okay, if that does happen, I want to make sure we've tested these big targets sooner rather than later.
Right.
So that if a big fish does come, we go, there's the feasibility study, and there's this, and there's this, and this, and you've got to pay for the whole lot.
Yeah, because I mean, when I first looked at your story, I said, okay, those economics look really good, but it's a million ounces or so, 1.1 million, I think it was, over 10 years. Or whatever the life.
1.108 years for the PEA.
8 years. So okay, that looks good. It's for the value of the stock. It's okay, but it's exciting, I suppose. But really exciting when I saw the scale of it. So
exactly, yeah.
So I guess you'll have news coming out. I mean, they're mostly focused on the feasibility now, and then hopefully we'll.
Yeah, we'll have. Well, you never know. We will have the results of the drilling coming out on a regular basis
yeah.
from now. We're probably not going to do it, probably once a month because there's two RC rigs generate a lot of data. But yeah, there'll be some other news on the exploration coming out fairly soon as well.
Well, certainly if the markets improve a little bit, share price goes up, maybe you can just a little bit of exploration would be exciting.
We're doing that. But that's coming. Don't worry, we're working on that.
Wonderful. All right, it's a great story, Nick. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much for
the
listening.
best.
Thank you.
Yeah.